Hey, how are you? It's Kevin Kenny. Welcome to a brand new episode of On the Record. Our guests today, Common and Andra Day. How are we?
We're doing great.
You hanging in there? It's been a long day as we tape this episode of On the Record. You guys were at GMA, Good Morning America, this morning.
Yeah.
Looked pretty cool. How was that?
No, it was a great feeling. We were high off purpose, high off purpose and being able to perform that song. That was our first time performing stand up for something for like on television. So it was a great experience, and then we still had energy, right?
Yeah.
Andra, we kept it's a good feeling. I'm happy to be out here with Andra, being able to be a part of this song, be a part of the film, and be able to talk about the things we're doing. It's just like a fulfilling experience, so
Definitely.
I'm
definitely
energized.
Yeah.
Definitely. And for anyone watching right now that isn't familiar with the song, Stand Up for Something, it's off the Marshall soundtrack.
Yes.
The soundtrack's actually out everywhere now.
It's
You
out
can get
now.
it. You can pick it up in stores. You can stream it online. The movie comes out October 13th. How did you guys get involved with this song?
Actually through Diane Warren, who wrote the song, who is a mutual friend. And I got involved because with the film, we got involved with the film, first of all. We wanted to be a part of that. And so we're doing the song, but I'm also singing in the movie as well. But it really came through Diane, who wrote the end title song for it. Her and I are friends, and we talked about working together. Diane Warren, who is just an incredible songwriter. Yeah, she's a legend. And then him and I previously had talked about working together as well. And so for me, it was just like the dream collaboration. When she was telling me about the song, singing it for me as well, and I heard about it, it was just, it had such purpose and it had such a life to it. And so for me, it was like, it was a no-brainer. I had to be a part of it. And then hearing that he wanted to be a part of it was truly an honor. And yeah, that's how we were connected, is through her. But, wanting to do it, the bigger purpose was really, honoring Thurgood Marshall and his legacy and what he built, and, the freedoms that he acquired for us through his work. And then bringing that message to now, because a lot of the themes are still relevant. So I think that was important really for both of us, and why we got involved.
Definitely. It's such a gorgeous song. I'm talking about the Good Morning America performance. It's tough that early in the morning, and especially in that sort of context, that room, right, on a television morning show, to just break through and really take the viewer's breath away. And you certainly did that, both of you today. How gorgeous of a performance it was. It really came through the screen. And anyone watching right now that didn't see the performance, you guys kind of took over Times Square too, which was really cool. They had you up on the NASDAQ tower there.
We were up there?
I didn't know
You
that
were up there. I know.
Oh,
I was thinking about that because I was like, they're performing inside. I bet they don't even know. They're all over these mega screens in Times Square.
Man, I should have called my mother or something.
I know.
Turn on ABC. But also something really cool happening in Times Square was this sign. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that. It was like a poster, a sign where people could sign what they were standing up for. So, mental illness was up there, disabilities. Did you happen to see that and know what that was about?
Well, we know what it's about, but I didn't see that. I don't know if you saw it, but that's our goal with this, is really a stand up for something campaign that just, the goal is to just make people aware that in their everyday lives, and no matter how big or small their stage or their platform is, that they can stand up for something, that they can serve, and that's what makes a difference. So we're definitely where that.
Yeah, and I love that we had that board out there. That's part of the campaign, though we didn't get to see it once again. But it's just because the stand up for something, the song itself is such a call to action for a human being to just find something within themselves that they believe in, like you said, whether it's mental illness and mental health, or it could be the environment. It could be standing up for animal rights, women rights, Black Lives Matter, whatever. And it could be all the above. And it's just about like really engaging people and inspiring people to do that. And as Andra and I keep talking every day about this, or as we talk today about this, we realize it's more and more anybody should be able to stand up. Like, if somebody's working behind a camera, they do that by just being the best person they could be behind the camera, and making sure that they, that everybody that they shoot the thing as dope as possible, or whatever. If you're a driver for a car service, and you like, look, I'm just gonna be the best driver, treat everybody at the most professional level. It's ways that we just start start the action is just by being humane to each other and just doing the simple things. And I think, you know, that message is really pure and powerful in the fact that we can just stand up wherever we are. Wherever we are in our seat, stand, you know, like wherever we stand in life, we can stand up right there, you know, like in that position and work. I don't know if I phrased it right, but I hope you understand.
No, absolutely. I think it deserves a round of applause, actually. That's an awesome sentiment. It's an awesome message.
Absolutely.
Getting back to the song, though, you were talking about, you know, Diane Warren, of course, wrote the song. You took it to another level, in my opinion, with your vocal performance. How put together was the song, Common, when you started putting, you know, pen to paper for your verse?
Well, for me, I was on my way to Sundance Film Festival earlier this year in January, and Diane Warren so happened to be sitting in the seat in front of me on the airplane, and she said, I had this song, oh man, it's an incredible song, and it's for the movie Marshall, and she started singing it to me, and I think my singing is bad, but hers is only one step above. But anyway, she sang the song, and I was like, okay, Diane, and then she let me hear another demo of it, and I was like, whoa, this song is incredible. She was like, you know, we get Andra Day to do this, and I'm like, oh man, we've been talking about working. So I was like, give me that song. Right. And I just started listening to the song and vibing to what I wanted to write. And I wanted to give something that she said so much in the song. And I just wanted to be part of the movement of the song and not overdo it and not be preachy, but I just try to come from a place of love. That's why I even started off my verse like, rise up, love, lift your hands. Yeah. You know, I stand with you because I understand. I wanted to start using metaphors towards the courtroom too because of Thurgood Marshall. So I started talking about, let's all rise like the day began. Reach out and touch with the Savior's hand. Yeah. You know, so I was just, you know, messing with it and getting inspired. And then, you know, when we went in the studio and Andra like started recording it, I was like, wow, this song is really something special. And just she embodied it in the recording, and the more and more we perform it, I could tell, like as she said, she's embodying it even more. Even I am too as I perform it. I'm like, oh, this is, you know. So it's a good feeling to even feel that joy of being able to perform and the joy of hearing that song and being in the studio and Andra recording it and being like, wow, this is a moment in this song. Hopefully, you know, God willing, will go out and touch the world in the way that we want it to.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, you talk about the purpose of the song. It's an important song, and you said something I thought was so cool and so beautiful on GMA this morning when you guys were talking over there about how, as a musician, you feel it's your responsibility as an artist to use your platform, to use your art to spread love and to address social issues and social injustices in the world. Yeah. How do you feel the music community as a whole, given the turbulent times that we've been going through this past year, how do you feel, not to give them a grade, but how do you feel they've been doing with that responsibility?
I mean, not to like judge them all.
No, yeah.
I think they're all great, but no, I mean, I think that there are some people that are much more vocal about it, and I think there are some people that are more subtle, you know, and then I think there are some that just aren't ready for it, you know. I think, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, I do believe when you've been given these gifts, you've been giving them to serve. You've been giving them to serve people and to serve your global community, in my opinion. But that doesn't necessarily mean it always has to look the same, you know. And someone brought up the other day that there was an album cover. I forget.
Young Thug.
Young Thug's album cover wearing a antebellum dress, you know, like without necessarily saying the words directly. That's still, you know, activism, and that's still using your platform to raise awareness, you know, about equality in you know, the Black community, also in the LGBTQ community, you know. And so it looks different for different people, and it's different timing for different people as well, you know. Right. So yeah, I think it's our responsibility, but you know, people are people. They have to come to it on their own and in the way they would. And I think that we're all used in different ways. It's not exactly the same. Otherwise, we'd all be speaking to the same audience, you know. And
yeah, Kevin, to add on to what you're saying, Andrew, it's like every artist has a different way to express their activism, and everybody doesn't necessarily reach that place, you know. And the people that are called better do it. The people that eventually grow into it better do it. The people that recognize that this is a platform and a way to change people's lives and improve lives, you better do it. But I don't fault those who don't do it, because everybody has a part to play. And some people that you see that don't make music about culturally relevant things go out in their communities and do things that we don't even know, and they don't do it for the spotlight. They donated all this money or did this program with kids, and you like, wow. So you just never know who's doing. So I think the music industry as a whole, though we can't like just lump everybody together, I think people have awakened to the call, just like a lot of Americans have awakened to this call, where we all see like, man, this is a time more than any time in our lives that we must like be woke, as everyone says, and start moving and doing things and figuring out ways to make this world better, because people just don't want all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We don't want it. So when you don't want it, you start moving towards positive things and better things. And I think, the music industry is a reflection of that, but our whole society is moving towards that. The younger generation is doing it. And it's just about like now just connecting the dots,
Yeah, definitely. We've talked a lot about how important this song is. The movie is also very important.
Absolutely.
For those that aren't familiar with the story, it's actually, well, of course, let's start with Thurgood Marshall. Excuse me. October 2nd is actually the 50th anniversary of him becoming the first ever African-American Supreme Court Justice, which is very special. I actually read it's unofficial, it's Thurgood Marshall Day in a lot of places.
Yeah, it's been accepted in, I think, okay, don't quote me on this, or quote me. It's either 25 or 125 cities. So So it's spreading, and it should be a holiday. Definitely.
Absolutely, and that's again on October 2nd, coming up this week. But the film actually focuses on a case that he experienced earlier in his career before he was on the Supreme Court. You guys, can you say anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think before he was a Supreme Court justice, obviously he was fighting a lot of criminal cases. He was trying cases of for Black people that were, unjustly accused of crimes that they would have lost their life for. And he was fighting in an era of racial terror in the country. So people were being lynched, which isn't just being hung from a tree, but it's a mob killing. And so, he was fighting to defend people who were falsely accused of rape, who were falsely accused of murder, because, a lot of times people would commit a crime and then just pin it on someone who was Black, because you could send them to prison, they could be lynched, and then it was done with. And so that was during the time of like segregation and Jim Crow as well too. So, emotions were still running very high, and there was a lot being done at that time to instill a sense of fear in the Black community. And so that's why people were being murdered. That's why, monuments later on in the 50s and the 40s and the 50s were being erected to Confederate leaders, was to kind of instill this idea in the community that, hey, okay, slavery might have been abolished, but, know your place, you know what I mean? And so he was fighting at a time, he was almost lynched. Before he was a Supreme Court justice, multiple times, one time in particular, he was actually lynched, driven down a dirt road to a lynch mob, and was rescued by one of his associates at the Legal Defense Fund. So, for me, it's like paying honor to his legacy is like, he's the reason why a lot of us have the liberties and the freedoms that we have today. And so there was a lot I learned in this process as well, too. And then there was a lot I was excited that people would become more familiar with in his story and in his legacy.
Definitely. And again, the film is out everywhere October 13th. This song, again, Stand Up for Something, gorgeous, incredible song. Can't thank you guys enough for taking the time today to stop by.
Thank you.